So I met myself where I am. And when I did that, and what I mean when I say I met myself where I am, I mean I have been resisting this behavior of mine, or emotional way of existing when I go into social outings. And I realize it's a significant factor as to why my relationships aren't very there, because I don't nurture them, in like my immediate community. And that's because I battle with social anxiety. But I would say it's more of an extreme case that relates to a brain injury I had. And one of the symptoms of post-concussion syndrome is called, it basically fucks with your automatic defense network in your brain. Now, I don't know. I might be butchering this 100%. This is just information that the, WebMD and doctors have told me, and so I'm just picking it out of my brain from whatever comes through, so don't take it as fact. But from my personal experience, I basically, like, going in public is like putting yourself on the stage. That's how I feel. It feels like I'm walking on stage and everybody's watching me. And so it's like my entire mental state when I'm outside of my house is like, don't fuck this up, basically. Like, I'm trying to make every single right move. And now that I'm talking about it, it sounds like there might actually be like a trauma relating to why that feeling is the way it is. Wow. And anyway, so that feeling makes me incredibly anxious to go outside, like, all the time. And especially in like high public places. And then, like, when it comes to having human interaction, I say it like that because that's how it feels. Like, human interaction just feels fucking hard. I don't know why. Pardon my French. It feels more appropriate for me to swear right now because I think it emphasizes the feeling. And I feel like that's important because I've been trying to minimize it for so long that that's me holding resistance to it existing. And when we hold resistance to something, we're not allowing the river stream of emotion to continue flowing. It's like we get in the river and we cut it off, and then it just sits there and it's uncomfortable. Whereas, like, if we just let the river run its course, the river represents our emotions. It's like I saw myself as like there's something wrong with me, and like I had to act like there wasn't something wrong with me. And so every time I go out, it's like this very, like, it's so exhausting because I'm like almost pretending that I'm okay when I'm actually not. And it's not as severe as it used to be because I've been working on it for a really long time. But sometimes I forget that it's like still pretty prominent in my life, I would say. And I could really benefit from like putting focused healing in this area, right? Because for a long time, it's been really generally focused, as in just like my brain function, like all of life has been really exhausting for quite some time. And I realized it's because I'm like running so much anxiety and stress response in my body that anything I do that's outside of my comfort bubble is like running so much energy and consuming so much energy, because I'm also running a stress response while I'm doing that, or while I leave the house, or when I go for a walk, or while I'm working, so it's not like I'm just using the energy of going to work. It's my body's in running from tigers in my brain. And so that's a pretty detailed explanation. I didn't intend to share that much information, but maybe it's good. This is a good reflection for me. And if anybody can relate out there, maybe it's helping where it can, to have the awareness, right? And that's kind of where it starts, is like becoming aware, because I think immediately with anything that, especially in the more extreme ends of our emotional well-being and our emotional function, I think we have this automatic response, which is quite natural, when we feel, right? It's a chemical reaction, actually, when we feel stress, right? Cortisol gets pumped through the blood, or however it does that. And our adrenaline runs, and all of our immune system, our digestive system, like when we're in a stress response, your system's shut down, because our stress response was meant to run from tigers way back when. And we're not running from tigers anymore. We're just running from the thought of not having enough for rent. But it's just a thought. It's not actually reality right now. And the actual reality that is only existing is just like this moment. That's all we really have. But we get in our head, right? And so me getting in my head, in more extreme cases, or when people get in their head, and I know I'm kind of trailing here. Let's bring it back a little bit. Beep bop boop. I was getting lost in the sauce. No, what I really want to share, though, is that, awareness, and then acceptance. Our automatic reaction, like, we're allowed to react. But then we have to check ourselves and, like, catch ourselves and be like, whoa. Before I spiral into, like, oh my God, what if blah, 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 all right? And then the water starts boiling. Before, like, react, and then reverse. But detach, right? Take a step back. It's like, okay, react. Like, whoa, that scared me. Or, whoa, this is uncomfortable. Or, what the, right? But then taking a step back is creating awareness around whatever that emotion or feeling or behavior or whatever has jolted you or triggered you, or whatever word you want to use. And then with awareness, we can see, like, oh, this isn't actually something that, like, this isn't my fault, for one. I mean, it might very well be. It technically is. But not, like, we're not here to blame ourselves. Like, that's not what's going to provide healing. It's not what's going to provide, like, relief in this moment. Whether you want to heal or not, if you're battling with intense disharmony inside of yourself, shaming, blaming, guilting, being mean to yourself in any way, shape, or form is not going to help, no matter how hard you are on yourself. And feeling powerless to it is also an illusion, right? And so we think we have to get out of this mentality that, like, we're not supposed to not be this way. Like, I think that's really what it is like, I'm not, it's not supposed to be like this. I'm not supposed to feel like this. And so I get super resistant to it being there. And then it's just like, yeah, freeze response, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. We all have different ways. We all choose a different route, maybe. But having to fight, flight, or freeze doesn't really feel like an option for me at this point in this area of my life. And maybe you have one you can relate to. So, what I was getting to, now that we've beat this bush right down to its pulp, was I accepted that part of myself. I was like, oh, it's actually okay for me to be this way. Like, I don't have to be perfect, and I don't have to have this totally figured out yet. Like, it's okay for me to be this way. I don't want to be this way. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to have this anxiety. I don't want to have this challenge. Like, that's every waking minute of my life. But, and like, sometimes I get exhausted, and now I went back to work this week for the first time in a little bit, and just really realized like how hard that was for me, because I am in my stress response sometimes, or more or less most of the time, and so I hit burnout really fast and really hard because of that. And again, I think this is probably all related to like a little bit of brain injury and like doing plant medicine and then being in a trauma response for 3 years and then brain injured during that process. There's a combination of things in there that may have resulted in this. But that's just like me intuitively based. Like, I'm my own intuitive healer. I go for help and support when I need to who I need, but I listen to that within me, and I take the healing in the direction in which, like, and if that leads me to a doctor sometimes, then fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, trailing back to, right? Coming back to, what was I talking about? So at the end of the day, when we're struggling with this area of our life, and this belief, this newfound belief of mine, has seeming to be proving itself over and over, just how they do, right? You can believe whatever you want, and you'll find proof for it. But this one, seeing life as in, you could call it a mirror, but the idea is when an emotion arises, when you're having an experience in your life, and it's stirring the pot inside of you, that experience is coming up to stir the pot. And all we need to do is look inside the pot and go, ooh, what's that? What's in there? What's in there? Oh, that's uncomfortable. And just like let it be there. And so for me, when my anxiety comes out, I had pictured myself just finally accepting that that's okay for me to be like that. It's okay for me to have that extreme discomfort, like gnawing at the back of my solar plexus. And this too shall pass. And with that acceptance, I am no longer resisting that discomfort in there. And now, it's like gone. Because I'm not holding it down. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be an awkward weirdo today. Fine. I don't love it, but I'm not going to hate it anymore, because hating it feels so much worse. And now that I've fully just like accepted however this freak flag is going to fly, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it knows it's divine. Whatever. I feel better. And I think that's really what it's about. Like, that's been a really big theme for me this year. I just want to feel better. And I don't mean feel better as in like, I want to feel better with all of life. I just want to move through the day and like not be scared of like noise and my own inner guys going to war. They're like, bah! And I'm like, please stop. We're at the grocery store. Like, relax. You know? And that's where I'm at. I just want to feel better. And that starts with letting the discomfort be there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Hope this helps. Love you guys. Have a blessed rest of your day.